Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Contractor Evolution. This is your host, Benji. A changing market can mean fewer leads, slower decision-making, and lower average job sizes across the board, none of which are good things. Instead of waiting passively for the phones to ring, is it time to try one of the most tried and tested methods of getting in front of your customer, which is meeting them where they live, literally? Sam Taggart is the founder and CEO of the D2D Experts. They help hundreds of companies build out successful and cost-efficient door-to-door sales teams every year. And today, he's going to teach us how. From hiring your first door knockers to a framework for building your own script and even how to design a compensation plan. If you're door-to-door curious or if you're just looking for a more active marketing channel to add this year, this episode is a must listen. So without further ado, let's dive in with Sam.
You're watching Contractor Evolution, where we unpack the systems, tactics, and skills you need to take your fast-growing contracting business to the next level.
You're here to learn what it takes to scale up, work less, and increase profitability. You've come to the right place.
Stay tuned to learn what separates the new breed of contractor from the old school, and welcome to your ultimate guide on the business of contracting.
Sam, it is so good to have you on Contractor Evolution. How are you, my friend?
Fantastic. How you doing?
Really good. Dude, so long time coming. Been a fan and a follower of yours for many years. I'm excited to finally have you on. And I feel like this is timely because, listen, I feel like a ton of people in our little Breakthrough Academy universe and beyond are asking a whole bunch of questions about door-to-door marketing. There's sort of some curiosity that's been piqued over the last, year to year and a half. And I wonder if you have a take on why that is.
Yeah, obviously at D2D Experts, we train contractors how to go deliver door to door, right? And whether that's from recruiting, training, pitch frameworks, objections, scaling, area management. And what's crazy over the last probably 18 months, the economy shifted in the sense of interest rates went up, not a lot of moving. Think of like contractors, you deal with a lot of new move-ins and people, shifting and remodels and refinances and flips, where that's all slowed down. And so you look at traditional marketing isn't attacking the certain audience that maybe was the low-hanging fruit. And so people have found that they just now need to get a little bit more aggressive and have more of a carnivore mindset, where now they're calling us saying, hey, let's go figure out how do we go to them? Because our phones aren't ringing. We've got 10 reps, 50 reps, 5 reps, whatever, that are sitting there twiddling thumbs. And they're like, feed me, Seymour, feed me. And you've got this culture of herbivores where the phone isn't ringing as much. And so our company is designed to shift people to a more carnivore mindset to go eat what they kill. You know what I mean? And there's people that are involved in that. So it makes it a little bit more difficult than just putting out some magic funnel, putting more money behind it. But that same dollars that you're spending 18 months ago isn't getting the same, conversions that it is today. And that's just like what the industry is kind of seeing as a whole.
So your take, and I'm aligned, is that this is largely market related. It's becoming a little bit more difficult to sort of sit back and be an order taker and have that be a fruitful growth strategy. I wonder if just for fun, if you can maybe unpack this idea of herbivores versus carnivores a little bit more in depth. Where does that come from in your framework?
Yeah, I don't know. A few years back, I remember giving this, it was pretty funny. Like I'm in this training and it was with a bunch of HVAC people, and door to door was just so obscure to them, right? And for them, they're like, we can't do door to door. And I was like, anything. Like I was like, bro, I've sold bounce houses, I've sold spyware, I've sold all sorts of shit. No soliciting signs, door to door. So you don't think you couldn't go figure out how to solve and hit a pain point? And they wouldn't believe me. And I just said, I was like, you guys are just a bunch of lead babies. You're like freaking herbivores where we're carnivores. And it kind of stuck ever since then. And then there's an omnivore dinosaur that is a very, very rare breed. You're very rarely going to find somebody that's like, hey, when I don't have an appointment, I'm hunting all day. And every sales rep says they are. And they're like, I'm talking, okay, you got a couple referrals every once in a while. I'm not going to call you a hunter. A hunter to me is somebody that's like 8, 9, 10 hours a day, 200 doors a day, that like that's how they get their business. It's almost like when they get referrals. Like I remember when I got referrals, I never went to them. It was just as easy for me to go next door and sell them. And so it was like, I have to drive to go to like some referral that maybe, you know, and to some people listening to this, like, oh my gosh, that's so weird. I'm like, I just got so good at my craft. I could go literally in the next 3 homes, I'm going to get another sale. That to me is a hunter. I didn't get a W-2. I didn't get an hourly. I got paid when I collected revenue for the company. And some people are just so afraid of this in today's world. They're like, is that socially acceptable? Are there people that would still do just commission only? You know, and I'm like, hell yeah, bro. Like that's what we teach, is how do you build a commission-based mentality where it's like, you'll be hurting how much you'll pay me because we're so successful, but I made you so much money too.
So for a business that's never tried door-to-door before, they're like a door-to-door virgin, what do they need to know or be prepared for if they were going to dip their toe into this world or take a massive leap of faith?
I mean, it's a scary thing. So they think. And you know, a lot of people, it's like, I fear the unknown. We've never done this, so that's scary, right? Well, the reality is it's like you just fear letting go of the known. Most people, it's like, I know this, meaning I have a water filtration company that just came to our office Monday, Tuesday of last week, and they did 20 million in direct mail. Well, they're like, well, we can't keep getting more customers through direct mail. Like we've exhausted direct mail for 13 years. And they're like, we need to add a secondary vertical. So I said, okay, come to our business boot camp where we teach literally an 80-page playbook. Here's a bunch of systems on how to do it. So a lot of the fear is like, do we know how to do it? But if I were to like really break this down to science, Girl Scouts go door to door selling Girl Scout cookies. So I'm not trying to call you like a little girl, but if they could do it, like the reality is you could probably do it too, right? So it's not that hard because you just go and talk to human being. What's hard is you getting over your ego and the fear of rejection. And you know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, they said no. You're like, and did you die? Like, no. So you're going to get a lot more no's than you are yeses. And some people just don't emotionally know how to handle that. Because if like, you know, oh, our closing percentage is at 60%. I'm like, yeah, that's on an inbound, preconditioned, handed, toe-touch set that closed. Like, congratulations. You're not going to get a 60% conversion when you're cold calling door to door. Like you're going to get maybe 1 out of 10, 1 out of 100 for some reps that suck. Like, and so just overcoming this mentality of like, you're going to get more no's than yeses, and you're dealing with human, meaning there's a reason why sports psychologists exist. There's a reason why therapists exist. There's a reason why there's a big push for mental health. Like you're dealing with human psychology, not just from a sales transaction, but from a managing reps transaction. And I think the more sophistication comes from leadership and influence of how do you motivate a bunch of ninjas out in the streets every day than it is actually closing a customer on a $30,000 job or a $10,000 job. And so it's being ready to say, can I manage the turnover? Can I manage the headaches when they call at 6 o'clock tired and defeated because I haven't made money in 2 weeks? Like, that's the piece that you got to be prepared for, because it is a harder psychological game.
But it is a more active tactic. And if I think about, you know, the various marketing channels available to your typical contractor listening, like not all of them are ones in which you can throttle them up with effort and intensity quite quickly. Many of them are a little bit more of you're fishing, like you have something out there dangling in the ocean. You hope you get a nibble, and you hope that nibble's good enough that it's a solid bite, and then you can pull the fish up, and there you go. But and like in a frothy market, when things are going well, right? There are times when you go fishing and it's just like fish after fish after fish, and then there's other times where that's not the case. And so the thing I like about door to door is you can really throttle this up through effort in quite a short time frame. You know, there's limited amounts that you can do to your SEO strategy to get more leads next month. There's quite a limit. In fact, there's very little that you can do to your web design to get a better lead next month. But when it comes to like actual just pick a neighborhood, go canvas it, knock some doors, hand out some flyers, close some deals. There's a quick turnaround factor here, which I think a lot of listeners would find appealing in this market.
Oh, 100%. Like, give me a race. Let's say you got 60 days, Benji. I got 60 days. You're going to go start up an ad and a campaign. I'm going to go recruit 10 of my buddies and we're going to go ham. I guarantee you I'll close at a higher margin. I'll sell faster than you did. Is what you're doing wrong? No, but can you come up with a faster way to go get revenue at $0? Because what I watch a lot of businesses do is they like pay that guy 30 grand in marketing and then still get no leads, or launch some Facebook ad and be like, let's put $100 a day behind this. And we got 2 leads. They're like, damn it. And my closer, I hope they showed up. It's like, and then they give it to some crappy sales guy, where I'm like, you could have crappy sales guys and never pay them. And you're like, okay, that sucks to suck. You could have good sales guys and only pay them if they produced, you know what I mean? But the biggest thing, like, I want to invite people. I remember there's a guy, I think he worked with you guys too, Your Energy Advantage, that was in my mastermind for like 3 years. And he was just struggling. And I was like, bro, for 1 week straight, take the freaking CEO hat off and put on the sales rep hat. And I want you every day to text me at the end of the day of how many doors you knocked. And he's like, okay. I was like, just 1 week, bro. And that literally changed the trajectory of his company. Last year he did 10 million. And the year before that he did like 5 million. And the year before that he did like 1.2. The year he did 1.2, it was just pulling teeth and marketing spend. He made like no money. And I was like, bro, like, how much more money did you make with 10? He's now got his daughters knocking with him. He's got his, like he has a whole team now and he's crushing it. But I was like, you would have never got there had you not just like said, I can do this. Mm-hmm. So my first invitation is to the owner to take on the owner hat of say, get in the trenches with your people and go knock. And I think people are like, oh, I'm above that, or I'm too cool for that. I'm like, I promise you'll probably make the best sales rep out of all your people. And I guarantee you could pay somebody 60 to 70 grand a year to do some of the boring stuff that you're doing that's easy to delegate.
I've knocked a few thousand doors in my life, and I can very confidently say it's more fun than you think. After your 5th door, you're kind of in rhythm, and it's just like trick or treating for grown-ups. Are there any industries that this would not work for? Like, just before we get into some tactical stuff and a bit of a roadmap, like, are there any kind of like, hey, I wouldn't do this if I were this kind of business?
Yeah, like we've had some pilots with some interesting ones. I mean, I've helped from Amazon to Uber to, I mean, you'd be shocked. Google just hit us up doing a campaign, like down to, the ones that I think would be harder are like SaaS, B2B on a small ticket. So like I have a software, Vanilla. It's a texting software that we built. And, I was like, okay, let's just go door to door. But like for $99 a month, even if they paid the whole year up front, it's just hard to pay commission good enough and or bankroll it heavy enough to like make a ton of money. You know what I mean? But then you look at pest control, they're $400, $500, $600 contract values. And there's dudes making $600,000 a year in commissions selling pest control door to door in 4.5 months. So it's like, okay, that's just sales commissions. That's not the business owner. That's not the managing commissions. That's just, what I mean? And they're selling 600, that's a rep. And they're selling a $600 a month contract or a $600 a year contract or $1,000 a year contract. So maybe I could be proved wrong, but I think the quantity of business to business, getting the right conversation door to door would be a little tougher because you're sifting through. So I would say on a little higher ticket business to business, obviously you could go knock. I love commercial knocking. I think a lot of industries, you'd be surprised. Like we've helped software companies, helped products. Like I've had a guy at my business boot camp that did fruit. They literally sold fruit, meat, to air fresheners. I've seen hearing aids go door to door. You'd be shocked. We're helping a stem cell clinic campaign. They're in 13 markets right now. And we're piloting their Clearwater, Florida division. You're going direct source. You're belly to belly with your direct client. You just now filter out who do I go to and why do I go to them.
So I guess
Saturday. Like
go ahead.
I'm dinner with 2 industries. I went to this really cool networking dinner with Lewis Howes, Dean Graziosi or whatever, Tony Robbins, Graziosi, Pace Morby. You had Jim Quick was sitting next to me. Like really cool dinner. There's like 20 of us. And the dude in front of me is like one of the governors of Utah, Mike Beaver. And he's like a high politician dude. And we start talking political knocking. And he's like, dude, there are politicians that'll pay you $26 a signature to go knock because they need 25,000 signatures. Like, what's crazy is like they underestimate the power of getting an army and talking to your qualified buyer.
I'm going to set this up this way. I want to sort of give you a very like simple scenario and then sort of ask these questions to you in the first person. And you can just walk us through. And this is going to be like 101 level, maybe 201 level sort of door-to-door content. But for our listeners who are, like I say, unacquainted with this, I think this is a really useful exercise to help them just get their brain around how this might look for their business. So let's say I've run a business for a number of years, I don't know, 5 to 10, good reputation, solid team. But like I was alluding to earlier, like my usual lead channels are slowing down enough that I'm beginning to look into door-to-door. I'm not like panicking, but I'm concerned. And I want to give you a roadmap. I want you to give me a roadmap on how to get started. The first question I would ask is like, am I hiring an inexperienced team of canvassers and then training them up? Or am I looking for like a hired gun, someone with experience, someone that has a ton of reps under their belt already? Can both work, or do you have a philosophy towards this?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is you fall to the level of like your systems, but you rise to the level of your leadership. And so if you have zero background in door-to-door and then you just go hire a dude off Craigslist that's like, I was working at retail Buckle and now I'm going to be this like door-to-door savage. And then you're going to base all of your markings off of this guy or these 5 guys that have no experience knocking. The hard part is you're going to give up real quick. So now you're like, okay, what's my leader? So now can I go poach or go find somebody with experience or go ask somebody that has A-type personality and is a killer, maybe on the phones, or maybe they're good in home. I guarantee the guy that's good in home would be good on the doors. It's just, can I convince him and make it enticing enough for him to be willing to go do it? And some of you guys listening to this might be like, man, I don't know. I'm looking in the mirror. Do I have it in me? Am I just washed up? Am I too old? Am I like... But at the end of the day, like most people are taking their business too casually. I interviewed Ed Milet at his house down in Laguna, and he's like, Sam, it's funny. I'm worth $500 million. And he's like, what people don't see and they don't hear is the 10 years of door knocking I did selling insurance. He's like, I didn't have a pipeline and a rich community to go sell insurance to. He's like, I knocked doors for 10 effing years selling insurance. And he's like, I would cold contact 100 a day, and I would freaking go knock, and I would go to businesses. And it's like, so, now he can go fly around his private jet and have a private Hope Island out of New England. You know what I mean? Like, but people are thinking they can just like leapfrog them putting in the work. And I watched too many businesses that never went through that phase. So if you can't go poach somebody, and that's hard because if they're good, they're not just like on Indeed and they're not just going to trust you that have zero background without an enticing upside or opportunity. So it's packaging that upside and opportunity and enticing it in the right way to go find and vet, because everybody and their dog that puts door to door on their resume doesn't mean they're good. You know what I mean? Just because it says I'm a golfer doesn't make I'm scratch. Like I golf, like I've golfed my whole life, but it doesn't make me a good golfer. And so, a lot of people put door to door on their resume or something just to like flex and be like, yeah, but it's like, I look for high energy, commitment and discipline, and are teachable. But I still need some kind of person to lead that charge on a daily basis to activate it, I would say.
This seems like a very difficult role to hire for on a typical job board. You mentioned Indeed, the list of others. We all know them. Like, am I wrong about that? Is that the case? Like, is this something
very hard?
It is hard.
We call it a setter manager. So like phase 2. Okay. So you're a company, you've got, let's say you're doing 10 jobs a day, traditional marketing, that's slowing down. You're like, hey, let's add door to door as a vertical. Luckily you've got dudes that know how to sell, right? The problem is they just need appointments. So my first step would be like, I need a canvassing team to generate appointments. And that might be an easier transition than trying to teach everybody full stack start to close, right? Especially with like higher ticket things. Pest control, it's a 15-minute sale, or maybe a home improvement. We're estimating, landscaping, we got to go design, and you know what I mean? Like there's a process, right? Um, so I would start with a setting team, but the hardest person to hire for is what we call a setter manager. So a setter manager is somebody that's like, get in my effing truck, I'm dropping you off at 2 and I'm picking you up at 9 and I'm gonna make sure you knocked 100 effing doors. Let's go. Like they're like the rah William Wallace. And that position is a little tricky to hire for. It's not easy. It isn't.
Mm-hmm. He's the guy getting coffee and donuts, playing the pump up music in the truck.
Yeah,
Like
he's banging his chest. He's like throwing midgets through the wall. He's the energy, right?
Yeah. So if it's the case that maybe your typical job boards are not the right place to look for, is there, I'm sure there isn't some other magical website where all the amazing talent is. Like, what are you, if you're coaching a business owner who's like, hey, I like this idea, I get it, I think I could whip together some scripts, figure out the right postal codes, I just need the people, like, where would you advise them to go look?
Yeah, I mean, social media is going to be a great place. You've got groups like on Facebook, you've got Instagram accounts. And so you could build an outreach kind of campaign to see if you can't just set up conversations. And so we call that HUD hunting, right? And then maybe secondly, you could go to a college campus and find like a fraternity rallier or somebody that maybe doesn't have experience in door-to-door, but has experience in leadership, or they're the captain of a football team. And it's like, what are you going to do after you graduate? You're not going NFL. Like, let's go like use these skill sets to go to work. And, they tend to have a higher discipline, like the athletes, the people that like have that competitive nature. And then how do you gamify it for them to where it's like, dude, this is like you said, trick or treating. Who's going to come back with the most candy in their bag? And we're going to shame the people that don't, and we're going to congratulate the people that do, because the people that care about their little decals on their football helmet or their hockey helmet or whatever, like that's like how they like to live life. And so if you just treat it like a sport, how do I get people that care about winning that way? Because they didn't, nobody had to like get them out of bed to go to practice every day to make it to college athlete or professional athlete. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. How much can a good door-to-door marketer or a good door-to-door salesperson make? I'm sure there's quite a range, but maybe you could give us kind of the bell curve.
Yeah, I mean, like your target earnings should be for a canvasser 60 to 100 grand. But as their canvassers and like I'm talking door knockers that make $1 million, hell yes. Like I've made millions of dollars knocking on doors. And a lot of people think, oh, like door to door, that's like low life. I'm like, bro, I throw door to door con every year. We had 3,500 people there last year. And you walk in that room and you're like, low life? Like you think this is low life? Like you go look at the parking lot where everything's a Lambo and a Raptor. And I'm like, I actually think it's sad at how many small businesses don't make money. Just because you have owner in your title doesn't make you rich. And I find people that sell actually a lot of times make a lot more than the owners, because they're the engine. They're the ones that drive all the revenue. They're the talent. And it's in our world almost like athletes. Like they get sign-on bonuses from companies and poached, and they're treated like gold because it's just like a professional athlete. It's like you want Steph Curry on your team, he comes with a high price. Like, you know what I mean? And they come with team like that's the world we live in, which is crazy, is these people that are become professional 5-year, 10-year, 15-year veterans. Like they know how to go create income and get it fast. But for a company that is sitting there going, like I go to a traditional solar company out of Virginia, for example. This was like back in 2017, my very first client. They, sponsored UVA. They're the largest solar company in Virginia. They, have their cars wrapped. Everybody has W-2s and company phones, and they're like, we're dying. So then we go and implement door to door, and I fire half their guys. I cut their commissions. I take away their effing W-2s. I raise the price to the customer, and everybody's like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, you guys are just soft. Like if I had like you've just domesticated everybody. I'm like, we're going to change shit up. And all of a sudden, we kept half and we said, this is how we're going moving forward. And they did more in 1 month. The following October, I started in October, in 1 month than they did the entire year prior. Like we're talking like exponentially profitable, exponentially growth. And dudes were making stupid money because they were charging a fair margin. They weren't getting outbidded, shop to the bottom. When you're getting an inbound lead, like they're quoting you with 3 other people. Like I could go into the psychology of this like so many different directions, but it's like, yeah, we're here to make money.
We're here to make money, and it's also there's something to be said about how like the point is so obvious it's almost staring you in the face. I mean, I can't tell you how many conference rooms I've sat in or spoken at, and you get, you know, these very like banal questions like, how do we get in front of our customers? And you'll hear somebody spout off about ideal client profiling, and then somebody else goes on about social media campaigns, or someone else goes on about like Google or whatever. And it's like, if you really just go back to like incredibly first principles thinking here, and as a marketer or a salesperson, you go, I want to get in front of my customer. How do I do that? Or another question is, where are our customers hanging out? It's like, they're hanging out at their house. Like, and that house has a door on it, and you can go and knock on it. And I think like sometimes in life, you just sort of like overcomplicate things, or think that they need to be more abstract or sophisticated than they are. And I'm sure, you know, at the upper echelon of door to door, it's very sophisticated and very well tracked, and there's systems for everything. But if we're just thinking about it in terms of like the fundamental idea, like this is a very simple concept.
Yeah. What if they're eating? Then they're eating. What if they're not home? Then they're not home. Like, what if they yell at me? Then they yell at you. like it's just like, you know, then I guarantee you, even those listening right now are probably in their heads, like it's saying all those things. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
It's like, but they're there.
Yeah. Big deal. So actually, listen, on this idea of like, just like, hey, they're at their house, go knock on the door. This is a good segue. Like, tell us a little bit about like the on the door script. What is a rep typically saying? Is there a framework that you can maybe walk us through to help someone like craft their own pitch? Any examples? I think that would be a real sort of knowledge gap for a lot of our listeners. Okay, fine. I have worked up the courage to go to the door. What am I saying?
Yeah.
then?
Now what do I say? And that's why a lot of people don't do. They're like, if I get up there, I don't want to make myself look like an idiot. Hence why they come to us. We have an online training academy, D2D University, split into different industries with different word tracks for each industry, from solar, roofing, pest, alarms, HVAC, all sorts of different insurance, real estate. You know, it's funny. Like last week I spoke at real estate. This week I'm speaking at an HVAC conference. You know, I travel around the world consulting and speaking and helped tons and tons of different industries. But it really boils down to a 5-step like framework. And the first one is the introduction, which includes, you know, breaking their preoccupation, building some trust, bandwagoning. It could be, you know, qualifying them. Are they a renter? Are they a homeowner? And you're trying to buy yourself another 30 seconds. It's like, you've got 30 seconds, win me over. You got another 30 seconds. Now win me over. Now you got 2 minutes. So it's just like baby stepping your way into like longer conversation. And I think a lot of people are like, a knock door, got to go for the jugular. You want it or not? Cool, moving on. Like, and I'm like, no, it's like it's a dance. Like, people want to know and then like you and trust you. The second principle is the what, which contains of 3 things. So it's the intro, the what, which is, you know, what's the program, which is solving what problem. And why I say program, I like to go out there not to be like, hey, we're here selling you, you know, roofing or whatever you're selling. Like, we sent a expert out. We have a team of trainers. We sent the guy out to a painting company in Denver last week. And they'd never done door-to-door. It's just 2 business owners. They just take inbound leads or whatever. And my guy went out there, never done painting. And I was like, hey, you want to go try painting? He's like, sure. He goes out and knocks. They get 4 estimates in literally 2.5 hours. And I think one they closed on the spot and one they closed later. And, you know, he used the same pitch that we used in solar, that we used in alarms. And so the program that he used was, he's like, hey, in this, you know, we're doing a model home program. Hey, in the next 3 to 5 years, everybody's going to be gentrifying this neighborhood. We're just trying to get the ball rolling and get some of these paints, because some of these homes are a little outdated. And so what we found is, if we can discount it heavily, so the problem is nobody wants to go paint their house. 2, if they don't have the money sitting around. 3, it's always on the back burner because a million other priorities come up. So why I would do this program and discount it like super heavy is because we found that if I do a good job on yours and 2 other homes on the street, then everybody's like, dude, who did your house? We've been thinking about it. Then you're going to refer them to me because I did a good job, right? And so that's the why. And then you pull back, be like, look, if you get it, great. If you don't, not a big deal. I'm going to do a few of your neighbors either way. Like, their home look good, up the value, whatever. Or not everybody qualifies. Like we don't want to just like paint everybody's house at a super steep discount if we don't get anything out of it. So we ask you a few questions. And then the last step is transition. So it's like, in this setting, it might be transition to the side of the house. Like, let me show you on the side of your house what I was seeing. Come with me. Or let me step in real quick and borrow the corner of your table real fast and jot you some stuff down. And so it's about, kind of this framework, and I could plug solar, roofing, pest, alarm, like whatever product into that framework, and it would work.
Mm-hmm. Why is the why super important? That third point.
And it's broken into 2 points. What's in it for them and what's in it for me? Everybody wants to know what's in it for me. So you give them like, here's what's in it for you. And then what's in it for me is if you come off like free and, then it's too good to be true. People don't want to get scammed. They don't trust you. So if you don't give them a clear, like, and I would say in that pitch, I would say something like, instead of investing millions of dollars into billboards and TV ads where we hope we get a phone call, we figure reinvest those same dollars back into the homeowner and savings. Have you ever bought something you're stoked with? You tell your friend and family. And right there, now psychologically, it clicks for them. They're like, oh yeah, I can see why you do that. And now I can see why I'm about to get a deal. Now I can see what's in it for them. Does that make sense? So I'm giving
It makes total sense.
Why I'm out here.
Yeah. What's the action that we're typically wanting someone to take? Is it contact information so that we can follow up with them? Is it actually like doing a full-blown estimate or quote depending on the job? Is it in some cases you're literally wanting to do a deal like right on that knock with a signed contract and a deposit? Does it depend?
Yeah, I mean, obviously every industry is a little different, but I'm out there to sell. I'm not out there to knock. I'm not out there to like make high fives and walk around and smile at people. I'm out there to close deals. And so, in solar initially, take this one Virginia company, their average sale was taking about a week. So, in my head, they're all like, okay, we get a lead, we go demo, we then schedule, we get design, and then we go follow up and close them on design. And then I don't know, you know what I mean? Maybe it takes them 3 days for their office to go put the proposal together. Average sale took about a week. So that day, the first day they hired me to go out there, I train in office for like 4 or 5 hours, and they were kind of dipping their toe. They're like, do we even want to do this? And I could tell. And a bunch of them all suited up. They're all like engineer kind of people that studied like, environmental science, and they're selling solar now. And I'm like, for me, it's a widget. Like, give it solar, call it painting. I don't effing care. So we go, and I was like, F it, we're going to neighborhood right now. They're like, a suit coat. They're like, right now? And I was like, yeah, like we're cutting this training short. And they were like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I fly out at 8. So why don't we go from like 4 to 6:30 and see if we can't sell one? And they were like, what do you mean? I was like, well, we could talk about it all day, or we could go do it. And they're like, right now? I'm like, yeah, where's a good neighborhood? Like, is there any neighborhoods? Like, let me see Google Map. Cool. We're going right here. Meet me there. So we all cruise out. We line up the whole road. And then I go knock a door, and they're like, what are we going to do? Like, I'll be here. I was like, yeah. 30 people are shadowing me on this door. So, so like, you're already sitting there going, oh my gosh. I'm like, so if I can knock with 30 people, I promise you can knock with one of your reps. Or I promise you can knock with 2. So prove my point. This is like my first client too. Like, I'm not like experienced in this. Now I've consulted over 300 and something companies like this. So it's like, to me, it's second nature now. So we get inside, we close the deal right there. And I'm like, hey, like, get him the docs. And the owner was with us. And he was like, I'm like, you're telling me somebody can't just effing give me a DocuSign login right now? I'm like, with the customer. And they were just like mind blown. And I'm like, yeah, get them the docs. So we closed this at a higher price margin than they thought. We sold it right there, same day. They'd never seen that happen ever. They like didn't even know what to do. Like, what? And then we went to the next door neighbor and we did it again. And we sold $60,000 in revenue in 2.5 hours. I then had to go catch my flight. Their jaws dropped. I sold it for 30% more margin. Like, I'm talking like they made, I think, $6,000 more profit on that job. Just profit for nothing different other than just pricing it right. I was like, you're welcome. I didn't take a commission because I don't when I go consult. And I'm here to sell. I'm not out here to just like hunky dory, get a lead, set a demo. Like I'm here to transition inside and close a deal. So ideally, that is my scenario. Whether it takes me 20 minutes to bid it and then I have to come back, whether it's like just do it in your effing kitchen table. But I'm here now and you're here now. If I set an appointment, statistically, and I've ran this number across probably 50,000 different door knockers across the world, a 50% show rate. If I have half as chance for them not even to be here or just to hide behind the curtains, when I come back, statistically, and I'm saying I've ran these numbers across thousands and thousands of data points. Why in the hell would I leave? You're here. You're listening to me. And then now I have an opportunity to set an appointment. Maybe I'm a canvasser and I have a closer that needs to come back. I want to set that either same day, I want to set that next day, or I want to set that the next day. But I was training alarms where I'm getting it installed that same day. There are no go backs. And so I try to find a way to close and to get it installed and put a hole in the wall as quickly as possible. I'm here now. I want to get the deal done.
So Sam, what would be your thoughts on how to approach constructing a comp plan that works both for the rep in terms of, hey, it's tantalizing enough and there's enough upside for them to really hustle, but it's also cost efficient for the business owner? Are there any rules of thumb there?
Yeah, I think business owners operate on different margins. So, I've seen anywhere from a 5% margin up to a 80% margin. So every industry like pest control, it's a long-term play. There's service contracts where, roofing or siding or windows is more of a one-time thing. So the way that I inverse contracts and pay scales and things like that starts with the profit margin. And then two, I then assess what's their fair price to market. Like, are we underpriced? Are we overpriced? And then number three is I'm going to say, okay, around 17 to 24% is going to be my like sales and marketing stack. Depending on my obviously margin, but let's just say I'm at 40% margin. I'm then going to look at this in sense of like, how do I pay my setters enough? And I think this is where people go wrong is they overpay the closers and they underpay the setters. The setters should be like the sexiest job, meaning they should like, I could go get a used furniture sales guy to show up to 4 appointments a day and they'd probably do just fine. It's hard to go find dudes to go hunt for 8 hours a day. So pay them well. And there's 2 ways you could do it is depending on your timeline of getting your payment collected, cash collected to pay out, and how much cash you have is how I would then pay. So some jobs take 3 months to fund. And so now I've got to float these setters because nobody can go 3 months without getting paid, right?
Right.
So I would then pay on a per sat appointment, which would be, a qualified lead where they show up. And you could slide that from anywhere from $50 to $300, depending on the market, and depending on your margin. You could then pay a kicker on how much to bonus them if the deal closes that incentivize the quality of the appointment, and steal that from the closer. Because just like marketing, if I spoon-fed a lead to some closer, they should get a deduction for the company generating a lead versus them generating a lead. And if I'm willing to spend money on marketing, then I'm obviously willing to spend money on canvassing departments, just another form of marketing. But I'm also should be penalizing closers more than probably most companies do for spoon feeding leads. I'm in this right now with my own team. Like, it's dude, like how much are we just babying you and doing your job for you versus like sending you off to the wolves and saying, go just Google, like find your own effing prospects, like network. And I think if we're not motivating the right behavior on compensation, meaning I de-incentivize the leads and I really incentivize self-generated deals, all of a sudden the behaviors start to shift.
Mm-hmm. Can you say a little bit about?
Does that help?
Can you say 100%? It does. And I think there's room to be quite creative, even playful with how you craft this. And I think you can as well. Like, I think we should give some space to the listener to be wrong in their first go at it. Come up with something that you think works, and then find out 3 months later that, hey, you know what? This actually, I'm underpaying I'm underplaying the rep, or I'm overpaying them, or I'm actually incentivizing behavior that I don't want. Like you're not pouring cement here. Like you can have a little bit of flex over time within reason. So go ahead.
I changed my pay scale when I was a VP of sales of a solar company for 2 years. And I bet you I changed my pay model like 7
Right.
times before I finally let it settle in. And I had to say, give me grace, guys. We're trying to figure out the economics here. Now I save a company's ton of money. Like I watch it, I go into a company that's like, I'm like, okay, let me save you like 2% right here. And when you're doing 20 million, 2% is a lot of money. Like I'm like, cool, one little tweak, nobody felt it, boom. And so that's where like, having some outside eyes and some consulting sometimes is very beneficial. This roofing client did 40 million last year. And for the last 6 months, they just added door to door as a vertical. Nolan's Roofing out of Florida. This would be a great use case. They're spending $200,000 a month on ads. They call us SOS, please come save our company. We implement door to door. The following month, they added $400,000 of profit to their bottom line because we got everybody activated into door to door. So then I said, okay, cool. You're just going to stack cash, 400,000. I'm like, no, you got to reinvest that back. Like we can't just like only take, you're spending money on leads. Like compensation's got to shift a little bit to where we want to keep them going in door to door. And now we've doubled their company in 6 months. And they went from 5% self-generated to now I think 65% of it self-generated. You know what I mean? And like to me, it's just shifting behaviors, right? But the last thing I would say, and this is what I've kind of come to the conclusion on, is it should be about a 50-50 split. You can chop that up a few ways, but let's say that I have a 20% margin for sales. 10% I give to the closer, 10% I give to the setter, or 5% I give to the setter, 5% I give to the closer. Make them feel equal, not like one's less than or more than.
That's a really good thought. For the entrepreneurs who've built this really successfully, they have, they've studied your stuff and implemented it well, or they've learned it elsewhere, whatever. Just if you, from the businesses that you've spoken to where they have a really stable and reliable door-to-door muscle built onto their business. And that's not to say they don't have a great brand and they don't have a great website and they don't do some other stuff as well, but this is something that they have in their arsenal. What do those entrepreneurs enjoy about their business in terms of I don't know if you can talk about the reliable leads. Maybe it's the mindset that they have towards growth. Maybe it's the culture inside the building. Is there anything that you've noticed that businesses who are really good at this kind of have that everyone else doesn't?
You get the transformation effect. I think as a business owner, you're on a hamster wheel. You're in the roofing business. You're in the solar business. What I feel like I'm in is the people development business. You get to change lives. And, I think of it as more personal development than it is anything. Book clubs, culture retreats, taking a group. Like I remember taking my company to Ghana, to Thailand, to Cuba, doing humanitarian projects, to, helping guys buy their first homes. And when you have a door-to-door program, you have a much bigger sales floor and you have a lot more opportunity to really lead people, where I think a lot of owners, it's more transactional. It's like their customer is their customer, where in door to door, your customer is your sales rep. And so when you say companies have great brands, I actually think door to door companies that are winning have amazing internal brands. Their culture internally branded with their own podcasts, their own, hype videos, their own accolades, their own internal recruiting departments. And it becomes more of like a cult, where most traditional businesses, it's like, let's go be a cool brand and go after, customers, where it's like, if I can motivate the reps, they'll go after the customers.
That's a really powerful point about the internal brand that builds up and spins up, because there's kind of a forcing function in door to door, which you've alluded to a couple times, but I'd rather just say it explicitly, which is like, the winners win and the losers lose. And over time, there's sort of, the losers, it's kind of a pejorative term here, but they kind of just atrophy out of the business, and you create this really interesting node on your sales team or your marketing team, or if you're a small business, that's kind of one and the same, where there's a real, there's a standard of excellence. There's an obsession with performance. There is a What's the opposite of fear? Like almost a love of rejection. They're not scared of rejection. There's some really good juju kind of pumping around the business all of a sudden. I think that's maybe lost on people. This isn't just, hey, I'm going to go out and get cost efficient leads. There's actually there's a knock-on effect that it gives to the organism that is the business.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Dude, where can people find out more about you, D2D University? If they want to kind of follow you along, check out your guys' stuff, just maybe give us the URLs to go do that.
Yeah, so the D2D Experts is kind of our main website. I'm at the Sam Taggart on Instagram, or D2D Experts on YouTube and Instagram. But from either just buying the book, ABCs of Closing, to getting our online academy, to coming to one of our events, we host 20 events a year, to getting private coaching, to joining our masterminds. And, we have a very cool way of helping people with different modalities, from online education to in-person hands-holding, to small events to big events like Door-to-Door-Con in January. And that's like the celebration of this industry, where, we get a lot of people that are like, is door-to-door for me? And they show up to that. Like, I had this guy, Paul's Pest Control out of Florida, been doing it forever. He had 2 sales reps last summer, showed up to Door-to-Door-Con, like, maybe I should figure out this whole door-to-door thing. I hear there's a thing around this, because we have companies that have 2,000 sales reps in pest control that we help. And we helped him get 12 sales reps that he's launching literally today. And it's like, cool. Like, he went from 2 to 12 guys, and they're carnivores, and he's stoked out of his mind. And he just showed up to our big convention and, got inspired, and it was just like, man, how do I do that? And, fast forward, like, I just was texting a guy, Jonas, who came to one of my business boot camps, literally just texted me. He runs a podcast just like this one called the Millionaire Mindset, Pest Control Mindset, Pest Control Millionaire, or something like that. But he had like no guys. He shows up and he's like, I just started knocking a month ago by myself. And he did 5 million in new pest control revenue last year, which, if you add 5 million in new revenue, that's like 25 million in evaluation. In 3 years later, he's got 100 guys, and he has a podcast now on it. Like, but he had no idea what he was doing. So I just, my whole thing is like, how do we make you the hero? How do we like help you turn your company around, turn your sales around? If you're a rep listening to this, it's like, guys, there's no one stopping you from knocking doors. Like, if your owner's like, well, we don't knock doors, it's like, would he be mad that you went and got deals? It's like, it's your income. Like, bro, like, I think there's too many people that are just afraid of it. And we're here to hold your hand and like give you literally save you dummy tax, go do it this way, and print out money. Like, that's what we're here to do.
Dude, I really appreciate the walkthrough, kind of wading us into these waters. There'll be a lot of listeners who are exactly in the scenario you just described. And I think gives them a nice soft landing. This is not as complicated or as scary as you think. And all things considered, you look at what's going on in the market, now might be a really good time to invest in this in your business. So, Sam, thank you so much for your time today, man. Let's stay in touch. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Say hi to Danny and team for me too.
Will do. Peace. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Contractor Evolution. If you've already subscribed to our channel, consider sharing this episode with another contractor who you think needs to hear it.